You probably haven't seen a knife sharpener like this in a kitchen before. This is Worksharp's Precision Adjust knife sharpener and it's supposed to be one of the best ways of sharpening a knife. You can get this product for around $60. I'll put a link down in the description. The reason you might not have seen a sharpener like this before is because it's more commonly used by owners of outdoor and utility knives, but it does say on the packaging that it can be used on pretty much any knife type. Inside you get the components of the sharpener along with an instruction manual, but this sharpener is surprisingly easy to put together. It basically has 4 components: the base, the body, the rod and the stones, and the knife clamp. All of them either clip in, like the body to the base, or they're held together by magnets, like the rod and the knife clamp. It's honestly super easy to assemble, and I know the complicated design can sometimes put people off who are just looking for a kitchen knife sharpener, but it really shouldn't, because in reality, the assembly of this sharpener is super easy. The clamp has a little screw to release the jaws, and when you first unpack it, you'll need to remove this piece of cardboard, which can take a little bit of force. You should hold on to this piece of card though, because Worksharp recommend putting the card back between the jaws during storage to protect the rubber surfaces of the clamp from any damage. You just screw the jaw back up to fix in the knife and then attach it to the sharpener. It also has this button on the back of the device which can be pressed in to swivel the knife round 180 degrees, allowing you to sharpen the other edge of the knife really quickly and easily. But before you sharpen a blade, you'll need to set the angle, which is done by this screw here. Sharper blades have smaller angles, but typically a kitchen knife will be anywhere between 15 and 20 degrees. What I like about this method is that you can be ultra precise with the angle that you pick. Some more simple angle adjustable knife sharpeners like this one only have a set number of angles to choose from. So if you want to set it at say 15 degrees, well, you can't. Whereas with the Worksharp, you can basically choose any angle that any knife is likely to have, and the rod is going to ensure that the angle stays exact all the way through sharpening. Which brings me on to what's fixed onto the rod, the thing that actually makes your knife sharp, the sharpening stones. This version has 3 stones, and you can easily switch to each side by swiveling it around, and then they'll just lock into place. There's a 320 grit coarse diamond surface, a 600 grit fine diamond surface, and then a fine ceramic surface to finish the blade off. The stones move up and down the rod, allowing you to glide along the blade when sharpening. It's a really easy all-round process, but to see how it compares to a more standard way of sharpening a knife, I wanted to compare it to a more standard sharpener, but with one important rule. I think the major factor that stops home cooks from choosing the Worksharp is that it looks too complex, too time-consuming. So in my test, I'm going to allow just 2 minutes of sharpening time. I have 2 of the exact same knife, a classic Wusthof chef's knife, and I've dulled each one down on a stone block to the exact same level. It's a guaranteed way to find out whether the Worksharp is practical for general use. And here we go, each sharpener is going to have 2 minutes to see how sharp we can get these knives. There's a bit more fiddling around required with the Worksharp, unscrewing the jaws of the clamp and then securely screwing the knife back into place and then back into the magnetic mount. But now I can begin sharpening the knife. This is done on the Worksharp by moving up and down the edge of the knife and slowly working your way across, removing the material from the knife as you go along the whole edge. The pull-through sharpener is of course much more simple. You just do long strokes of the knife, which quickly removes lots of the material in a bit more of an aggressive manner. Looking at the clock and realising that 45 seconds had already gone, I realised I had to take a bit less caution with the Worksharp and really try to quickly grind away that new edge. And with a minute left, I knew I had to start on the other side if I was going to finish in time. Swiveling the knife round is really easy, so not too much time is lost there. With the pull-through sharpener, things were going pretty well. I'd already started on the ceramic slot and I felt like I'd removed enough material from the coarse side and I was just trying to refine the knife now. But I really had to start motoring on with the Worksharp at this point, and I was getting worried that I might actually run out of time. I switched over from the diamond to the ceramic polishing surface with 30 seconds on the clock and had to do it really quickly and didn't really have enough time left. Meanwhile, with the pull-through sharpener, I was easily just focusing on carefully finishing the blade on that ceramic slot. And then with very little time left, I swiveled the blade round on the Worksharp and did my very best to give it a final polish with the ceramic side. and then I had to quickly release the knife just on the 2-minute mark. I'm not going to lie, that felt a bit rushed, and I'm not too confident about the Worksharp achieving a good result here, but let's try it out on some paper. This is the pull-through sharpened knife first. It's decently sharp for sure and cutting through fine. This is the Worksharp sharpened knife, which is barely cutting the paper at all. So when it comes to sharpening within 2 minutes, it hasn't really worked out. The pull-through sharpener clearly delivers better results. But I'm not going to leave it at that. I'm going to spend a little bit more time sharpening this knife. Not ages, I want to keep it under 10 minutes to see what this sharpener can do in what is still a relatively short period of time. So I started the clock again and got to work, this time taking my time to move along the blade slowly and ensure that the new edge was sufficiently ground out. As the time went on, it was clear that this was working well, and it's pretty obvious that you do need to spend a bit more time when using a product like the Worksharp. But it was when I felt the diamond stones had done enough work and it was time to move to the ceramic that I really noticed the difference. Having spent a bit more time on the knife, the ceramic stone was starting to unveil a beautifully polished edge to the knife, almost a mirror edge, and it was really satisfying to feel the ceramic glide across the now super smooth surface. After 7 minutes, the knife felt ready for another paper test. And wow, did it make a difference. After 7 minutes, this knife had turned into a precision tool, slicing through paper more cleanly than when it was new. I was even able to slice curves through the paper with no effort at all. This was a level of sharpness that would just never be achieved from a standard pull-through sharpener. And so I think this test really shows two things. Firstly, if you're just looking for a quick and easy sharpening tool, then by all means go for a simple pull-through manual sharpener or an electric sharpener. They'll never give you the very best results, but they do give you quick results. But the second thing is that if you are willing to spend just a little bit of extra time, less than 10 minutes in this case, then the Worksharp does provide a foolproof way of making your knives surgically sharp at home, and I think that's pretty cool. But the sharpener is only one side of the equation, because first of all, you need a decent knife. If you're looking for an amazing knife that costs only a third the price of the big brands, then you need to check out my video here where I test out a range of $50 chef's knives and see how they compare with a $170 Wusthof knife.